City Councilman Montgomery. Do I have approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Approved by Derek Lundell, seconded by Mr. Hema. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of minutes. Everybody's chance to read the minutes from last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Lundell, second by Johnson to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public input. There's no public input, so we won't even go to that. The next thing on the agenda is a public hearing on to rezone and a lot combination of parcels 525-3000020 and 010, currently zoned urban reserve, and is being proposed that they both be rezoned to B2 Highway Business District and combined into one parcel. Diane, can you enlighten us on that?
I'm going to give you a little bit of background. According to the land use plan, the B2 Highway Business District is appropriate at this location. The highway-oriented use is also compatible according to the comprehensive plan as stated below. The businesses should be those that benefit from Highway 52 visibility and the high volume of traffic between Rochester and the Twin Cities. The area should accommodate primarily retail and service uses rather than manufacturing and production businesses that could be located in the city's industrial park. The area should provide the buildings that are too large and incompatible with the smaller scale commercial uses in downtown and convenience commercial areas of the city. And finally, the code states that the size of the lot meets the minimum requirements of the B2, which is 20,000 square feet.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to address this rezone and lot combination, please come up to the mic and fill us in.
All right, Dawn Lanning, and I own the property adjacent to the one larger parcel on the south side of it. And actually, this is kind of a rehash of a meeting we had 2 months ago when Banks owned the property. You know, Banks, that at one point that parcel was one big parcel that went across the service road. And the agreement that came out of that public hearing when Banks owned it was that that parcel would be split between the east side of the service road and the west side of the service road, and that the east side of the service road would be zoned B2, which makes sense. It's next to Avalon. It's right next to the freeway, like she said, like Diane said. But that the parcel that was created on the west side of the road only 2 months ago would stay urban reserve because it is right between residential properties. So the property to the north of this property is a residential property. That property owner hasn't been there that long, maybe 2 years, 3 years. He's put a lot of work into that property. I don't know if he doesn't know about this, doesn't care. I don't know how he feels. I don't go rallying around my neighbors. I don't have time for that. But I know how I feel, and I still feel the same way I did 2 months ago, that, you know, it makes more sense. I totally understand a B2 district on the east side of the road because it's already kind of developed, and that's fine. But to put B2 in between two residences devalues those properties in both respects, whether I would ever want to make my land commercial it still wouldn't have the value because it's a residence. They'd have to tear down a bunch of structures, they'd have to redo a bunch of stuff, they'd have to tear down a bunch of trees, for me to use it as a business kind of district, kind of use. Okay, so there's no value there. And now if you put businesses right next to my property, it devalues my property as a residence. Because part of why I bought that place is I'm in the middle of a bunch of pine trees, very private, but when you put a business right next to my property, now it doesn't make it so private. So it would make it difficult, and it lowers my property value as a residence. So I'm still making the same case that I made 2 months ago about not changing that property to a business zoning. The other problem with, and I don't have any opinion about combining those two lots that have road frontage, right? There's also a third lot involved in this sale that he bought from Banks. And that third lot is actually up on top of the hill. It is landlocked, and it is zoned A2 in Cannon Falls Township. So if you combine those properties, rezone them as business, what happens to that lot in the back? There's no access, it's landlocked, totally different uses. So again, it doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a lot of trees, for any business to go in there, they'd have to tear down a lot of trees, and I'm thinking that would be an environmental, issue too, as far as removing trees. I don't know what Goodhue County's policies are, but I know when we were in Nininger Township, Dakota County had all sorts of things to say about removing a bunch of trees. So it doesn't make a lot of sense on that side of the road just because of the way it's laid out, the residences that are on both sides of that property. It just doesn't make sense to make that a B2 district. So, any questions?
Nope.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Anyone else here to address it? Matt, do you want to say anything?
First, just want to say that the reason we bought that property was to find some additional hunting land for my boys and I. We've got 3 sons. Realizing that the 13 acres is in the township of Cannon Falls and the 7.16 that I'm trying to rezone to B2 is in the city of Cannon Falls. So we can't hunt in the city of Cannon Falls. And therefore, we did get an access point, a rough access point approved by the county to go through the commercial property up to the Township of Cannon Falls property, the 13 acres. And that's what we'd like to try and do. I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers here, just if we can't use it for hunting, I'd like to see if there's something else we could do with it, so.
Come on up.
To my neighbor's point, my new neighbor's point, I get that he wants to do some hunting. He can still do that without a B2 rezone. And he can still access the property on top of the hill without a B2 rezone. So the idea of rezoning this for hunting access, again, doesn't make a lot of sense for the rezoning.
So, as you stated earlier, it isn't landlocked then, correct?
Yes, it is. The
said-
piece he wants to rezone is in the front of the piece that he wants to go hunt on. So he owns 3 parcels right now.
Correct.
So he wants to rezone the 2 parcels that are along the road. But he's not combining the township parcel because then he wouldn't be able to hunt the land at all. He wants I don't know. So
I think.
the B2 rezone doesn't accomplish what he bought the property for. If he bought it to go hunting, he can do that without a B2 rezone, just as easily as he can now. So the rezone doesn't accomplish the purpose of the request, is really what I'm getting at. So,
Thank you. Anybody else want to address the planning commission on this issue? Second call for anybody wanting to address this issue. Third call, anyone want to address this issue? I will close the public hearing. Council, not council, commission. What I would like to say is, Matt, I shouldn't call you Matt, I should call you Mr. Finman, right?
Probably whatever you'd like.
You have applied for a rezone, is that correct? Diane, has he got all the information, paperwork filed for that?
He does, yes.
Under the laws or the guidelines of our comprehensive plan, would it be under that?
Yes.
That
And the code.
we cannot turn him away.
Well, he meets all the criteria.
He meets all the criteria. Okay, that's a good way to put it. And so by not allowing it, oh boy, we don't have any reason not to allow it because it fits in our plan, correct? I know, Dawn, I understand where you're coming from, but he has made his application legally, just like everyone has to do, and if everybody else or the rest of the commission wants to have their input.
With the application rezone, I know I have this concept plan or something here. That's just an idea, or is that actually, that's just an idea, so we're not actually
No,
applying
that's-
for any building permits or,
No, that's just a
so it's
concept.
just a,
Yeah,
so it could turn out to be anything
right, right.
that is allowed within,
Basically,
B2.
what it shows, Diane, is that there is access.
yes.
He did get a hold of the county. He got all of his permits for access, and that's kind of what that's showing you, is he does have access.
So if we rezone, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
As far, I did speak with the county, and they said, yes, that should work. I didn't get any permits or
Oh,
anything.
sorry about that.
But
Okay.
they did say at that point it should work. It's 500 feet from another roadway, it's 200 feet from another driveway. So it will work, and they will grant an access point there. But I did not get any permits or take it any further.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, so if we actually get to the point where we want to build something there, then it's another process that begins.
Right.
So this
right,
is just rezone.
Right, right. A lot combination and a rezone, Diane.
I thought county does a combination, correct?
We send
Yeah.
it to the recorder's office, yep.
And I, of course, personally would love to see everything remain agricultural, but I understand that we are a city and therefore things like this happen. And
Anything, Derek?
No, I mean, I think the lot combination just makes sense to put them as one, and yeah, if, I don't believe you have anything planned per se, it's just for the future, if, in case you were to want to. So, yeah, I mean, it seems fine.
So just out of curiosity, if I ever decided I wanted to rezone my property to be B2, if it gets annexed into the city, which eventually I'm kind of thinking I'm going to be fighting that battle as well. Is a residence an allowed use of a B2?
Well, you'll have to make the application, and then we go through the whole process the way we're doing it now.
And answer that question, whether I could still live there.
I can't answer that.
Is that an allowed use of a B2?
I'm not sure about the conditional use, Diane, but that's something I can definitely give you a call tomorrow, and we can talk through that if you want me to.
To live in a B2 zone,
The B2 ordinance is pretty big, but you and I can go through that individually tomorrow.
and I could still live there.
We can talk about that tomorrow.
And isn't urban reserve also an allowed use for this?
Urban reserve is like a holding zone, for lack of a better word. It's usually what they,
Plan, right? I mean, there's nothing against the comp plan to keep it as is.
no, but it is up to the individual owner. And I know back in January, when this one came up, that parcel still belonged to the banks, and they had not sold it yet, but it has since been purchased, much like the lot on the other side of the avenue.
And the combination is just for the two parcels along the road and not the township parcel on top.
It could not be combined with the township parcel, no.
Any other comments, Bruce? Pretty quiet. Well, I'm going to make a motion to the city council.
Gonna close the hearing. Did we close the hearing?
Yeah, long time ago. You were sleeping.
That far, that's, yeah.
I'm going to make a motion that we accept resolution 202206 to rezone it to B2 and to combine the lots.
I will second that.
Motion by Gesme, second by Lundell. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the Darien Request. Diane?
Kelly Elvestad is going to explain some ideas that she has for the Darien. Kelly, do you want to do that at this time?
Hi, I'm Kelly Elvestead, and I'm here with my husband, BJ. So I don't know if some of you know, we have put the Darien on the market to sell earlier this fall. It did not sell, so we will be opening it up again. We have a few things that we would like to do. Originally, we kind of were thinking maybe we should get a liquor license and all that kind of stuff, because that's what all of the buyers that wanted to buy wanted, was to make it more than it is, to give it more of a four-season life, which would include a liquor license and all that kind of stuff. From our understanding and talking with Diane, the conditional use that the property is on won't allow for any expansion, also because of the zoning, which I totally understand, and also just the setbacks of the tiny little lot we have. So we understand that it is what it is. and that it would be spot zoning and all of that. So we are trying to give it new life with keeping with what it is, which is an ice cream shop. Personally, I don't really have a desire to run a grill anymore. We had an accident a couple years back that was super traumatic, and I just don't want to have fryers anymore. I don't personally want to do that. So one way that we can make okay money with just the ice cream, but to bring more people in, we've thought of bringing in food trucks. I don't know if you have some of the kind of layout ideas that we've come up with, but we want to expand our eating area, our outdoor eating area to the south of the building towards our grassy area to allow for just more, yep, to allow for more eating area. And then the hope would be to bring in food trucks, either as a semi-resident, whether they'd come for like a week or two, to kind of have that food option, draw more people in, and kind of give it that food truck park feel. And I have gone through your food truck ordinance. It looks like a lot of it pertains to private lands, a lot of the rules and regulations, the setbacks, and all that kind of stuff. Not private, for public land. And in protection, a lot of these food truck ordinances I know are to protect restaurants and businesses from having competition park right in front of them. And ours is kind of the opposite request. We want to bring them in for our business, as part of our business. I think the only one that I could find is 121.14, which talks about licensed mobile food units may operate on private-owned property located in, and I believe we are residential business district. Is that correct, Diane? Yes, so that includes us. So, couple questions referring to the food trucks, and then we'll go back to the lot design stuff. So with the food trucks, there are, codes in here that talk about no overnight storage, but it does specifically state on public land. So we want to make sure that we would be able to allow trucks to come in and park for a week, or whatever amount of time we contract on. And then, so that's the first one. How should I do this? I don't know. Should we just talk about each point? Does that work? Okay. So does the commission have a problem with the food truck staying there overnight? So it's 21.07. That's the one that talks about overnight storage.
We don't allow that now, correct?
Overnight storage? No.
Not on a public
But it
street,
says-
anyway.
On a
It
public
says public
street.
land.
Yeah, on a public street, yep. That was what she had just stated.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one that we found that maybe we might have to tweak if we did this, Kelly, would be 121.17. Mobile food units may not be located within 100 feet of any food service establishment as measured from the mobile food unit to the food service building. And the Darien having a small restaurant license would definitely qualify for food service. So it would be something where I don't know if you would want to get the temperature of the planning commission and determine whether or not you would want to do an ordinance change with something like that, or request an ordinance change. And if you do want to approach this step, staff would recommend inviting all the restaurants and food services provider within the city limits to participate in the discussion, but that would be an option that we could talk about if you would want to, pull a development application for something like that.
So in order to have a food truck on our own land, within 100 feet of our own restaurant, we
Right.
would need to have a variance or a ordinance change.
Well, when Neil and I talked about it, we thought maybe it should be an ordinance change.
Okay. Is that necessary? Because I think the spirit of
Here's
these are.
where it
Go ahead.
lands.
Okay.
If you look under 121.14, licensed mobile food units shall be allowed to operate on public right-of-way and municipal parking lots. Okay? In the B1 Central Business District and the B2 Highway Business District. Period. Licensed mobile food units may operate on privately owned property located in the I-1 Limited Industrial District, the I-2 General Industrial District, and the RB Residential Business. You're in an RB pursuant to the zoning code. So they're not allowed on private property in the B1 or the B2 on private property. They can operate on public right-of-way or municipal parking lots. So the problem that we have is you're in a residential business district, but mobile food units cannot be located within 100 feet of any food service, even though it's your own. So there's where we would have to make that change. It seems like it's not right, but that's what it says.
Yeah. I believe we are the only restaurant in a residential business
You are.
district in the city. So
So that's what
whatever
we would have to do.
the easiest, if you want to go through an ordinance change, we can do that. If we want to, however is the correct way to do it, I guess we can do that. Yeah. Go ahead.
So you would be the one operating the mobile?
I would contract with food truck operators. So we
Okay,
would
so
have,
when
we would go
actually-
through I would probably start with people in Cannon Falls, trucks that already have licenses in Cannon Falls that are licensed through the city, start conversations with them. Would you like to park here for a week at a time or on Monday to Thursday or whatever it is? I've also contacted the Minnesota Food Truck Association. There are interested parties there. One of the things that interests them the most is that it's not a pick up and go every day, that they can come plant their truck for a week or in between festivals or whatever and have it, in one spot where they don't have to pull every single day. So that's one of the things that's appealing to them. That's why food truck parks are popular.
So the existing building would just be ice cream,
Yes.
and then you would figure out what kind of food you wanted out of the mobile truck.
It would rotate, which is part of what makes it appealing. People get different variety. We would always like to have some sort of burger type option similar to what we did. But it'll depend on who wants to be there. And, I haven't gone too far down that route because I don't know if it's even possible. So I can't start contracting with people and all of that until I know.
Is this something you would like just for this summer? Are you thinking long-term?
I mean, if someone wants to, we're just learning that the reality of the matter is the Darien doesn't make enough money to support a full-time living. It just doesn't. And the confines of what it is what it is. It's a non-conforming use. It has all these setbacks. There's things that so to keep it what it is, which is important to me, to keep it the Darien, to have it be ice cream, people love it. They come back year after, they move away and they come back and it's the thing they bring their kids to, all of that kind of stuff. We want to keep that iconic Darien tradition alive, but to run a kitchen out of there for 5 months a year, it just doesn't work. You can't get staff unless you're personally gonna cook all the time. And that's, the ideal person would be someone that's semi-retired, that wanted to, do something for 10 years and run a restaurant and then go down south in the winter, like the previous owner, Mike, did. Like, for him, it was a really good setup. But he just decided he wanted to live down south all the time. So that's why he sold it. So for honestly, our accident changed a lot for us, for me personally. I don't want to run a grill anymore. Simple as that. So we tried to sell it, we couldn't. And, the next owner, we will keep it. We'll put it back on the market in a few months, once we're full in the season and people can see that it's, what it is. It's just one of those things. Last time it took Mike a long time to sell it to us too. It's just the nature of it. So I think there was a lot of interest in it. A lot of people want to own their own thing. It's just the limitations of what it is. You can't get a liquor license. You can't expand it. It's not that appealing to other buyers necessarily. But it was only on the market for less than a year, and sometimes restaurants take a long time to sell. So, we understand it is what it is. So, I'm not asking for a one-time thing. If that's, I don't know what the next owner would want to do. But as long as we own it, I know I don't want to run a grill. So that goes on to a next question I have. Since we're a non-conforming use, if we don't use it for what it is in the non-conforming use, if we don't use it as a restaurant for a year, we lose our non-conforming use. So by not running the grill, does that mean no one can ever run a grill ever again?
Kelly, I would not think so. We'd have to double check, of course, with our attorney for legal clarification on that, but you would still be serving food and you would still have that small food license. I can't see where that would cause you to lose that.
I wouldn't think so, but we just want to clarify that.
And what I was going to ask is just serving ice cream and those type of treats considered, does that make it a food service?
The small food service,
okay.
yeah. And
So
I think
you'd be okay.
that would be more the Department of Health than it would be us, as far as what your licensing would be.
Yeah.
My concern is, and as you can see, I'm not against eating. If we decide to go ahead and have the public hearing and change the ordinance and everything else, and somebody comes up and buys it and turns it back into a grill and stuff like that, now all of a sudden we're dealing with a different ordinance that we really didn't have in place in the first time, and changing it just for this one situation. I have a little bit of an issue with that, and you're talking a one-time thing, and you're hoping to sell it, correct?
Yeah.
It's going to still be on the market.
Yeah, but food truck parks are very popular. So I can see how us making it that would be appealing to people. Because running the ice cream is a fraction of the headache of running the food. So, and just the overhead and all of that kind of stuff. So being able to outsource that side of it and still be able to draw people in, that's, and the fact that we would have a bigger eating area and all of that kind of stuff, that stuff food trucks can't have. So, a place for someone to go, like in the ordinance, it specifically says you can't have eating area, you can't have your own tables and all of that kind of stuff. So the hope for us would be that having it be a food truck thing with the ice cream as in the building with the bathrooms and all of that right there, that would be appealing to a different buyer. That would be the hope. Or maybe we'll love doing it if we can do it. And, you're here, so you must want to say something.
So basically, it's too small to really scale, and you can't expand it. So the kitchen is, you can't find your solid people that are going to run the kitchen. because it's short-term, it's seasonal. You can't afford to pay them what they'd pay in any other restaurant because it's small, so you've got these limitations. Everyone knows food prices are bananas, wages are bananas, you can't find people. So it's like the kitchen for us is almost, you don't want to say a negative, but it's like a break even. So if we can figure out a way to still bring the people in for food and kind of offhand that part of it to somebody else, and we can complement each other. No dessert trucks, food trucks. People come for ice cream, maybe they get some food. Come in for food, get some, try to have a complementary mix to where, we can keep it going, because the restaurant business stinks. And if you can't figure out a way to gin up more revenue, it's just, you're kind of stuck. So at least if we can offload a lot of these, costs and have a smaller staff because we can't staff it up anyway, it kind of allows us to keep it going. So,
Thanks.
yep.
So you need to figure out how many food trucks you can put within 100 feet or outside of 100 feet of the building.
0.
Our lot's so tiny, there would be no
So
part.
you can't do that.
You can't do the public parking.
No, I mean, on your parking that you've got, on the
Yeah.
land you own now, you can put it on there. Can't you? Yeah, the way I read this.
What's that?
They can park food trucks as long as it's outside of 100 feet.
They don't have 100 feet. That's why it
Yeah.
would require an ordinance change.
Could they park the trucks and not have them overnight, just for a short period of time?
It says.
Their lot isn't big enough to have it on
It still
there.
isn't big enough,
Yeah,
so-
yeah. They're right. I mean,
Yeah.
they have real challenges with the size of the lot.
yeah, that's
An
true.
ordinance change may
So
be
the
able to help
bottom line
them.
is, you can't really have food trucks unless you have the space. And you don't have the space to get them outside unless we change
So,
that
I-
rule. And I see
yeah.
why we have the rule. I mean, you gotta be able to get a fire truck in there if there's a fire. You gotta have emergency vehicle access to those kinds of vehicles.
Well, I think, I don't know. I
just
think the
gonna stand up
nature, okay, I think the nature of the ordinance is to protect restaurants.
Yes.
So that
Right.
so if you look at I think if you talk to a lawyer, you ask why this was put in, it's to protect restaurants. That 100-foot rule is to protect restaurants. There are no other restaurants to protect in that area. So if we're bringing it in, like, it just seems,
Like if you can,
Yeah.
without, like, can we sign a waiver that says, we don't care?
we don't care that we're within 100 feet.
It's like, it's
Yeah.
to protect, so a brick oven pizza place doesn't park in front of Dudley's. I'm guessing,
They can do that.
No, they can't.
No, they can't, because they have to be 100 feet away.
They have to be 100 feet
yeah,
away from it.
and they're on public right away, so
Yeah.
this is just, I don't, it's, I get the intent of it, but when you're the one inviting them on, it changes things.
Yeah. And, the other thing I don't quite understand about that is if I owned a building next to a restaurant, there's no ordinance saying I can't put a restaurant in that building that is next to a restaurant. So, like, I understand what it's talking about. Like, you don't want a food truck to pull up too close to a restaurant and pull away its business. 100% understand that.
But here you're looking to rent them space to be able to park.
The whole point is to bring them
And bring you revenue
close. We
as well.
want them close to our
I
restaurant.
assume that, yeah, you'd rent the spaces.
Yes.
But if it's still, I don't know.
In
Doesn't look like.
having obviously been the dairy and many times, and looking at where is there any room to even put these trucks? I mean, on the back side or?
So the two places that we would like to do it, I don't know if you can see on here. So right now our parking spots are straight in, and they're straight in across this way, right? So this square with all of these bathtubs
Right,
and
right.
coffee tables that my husband so beautifully put together for me. That's all our parking lot right now. And it's a lot of people coming in crazy ways, and parking in our parking lot is just crazy. So the thought is to put this eating area, because there's the grassy area over here, to put the eating area so that when kids go over to the grassy area, they're not crossing through traffic, and that we just have a more secure place for eating. And then to change the direction of our traffic so that we have over here we have a entrance, and over here we have an entrance, to make it just one-way entrance all the way around. And then do the angled parking so that there would just be better flow. So if we're allowed to do this with the 9-foot parking, 9-foot spaces that we have right now, we have 9-foot distances, we would actually gain a parking spot with the way that it's set up this way. If we need to do it to the city code, which is a 12.9 foot, I believe.
I think you can probably do 9 foot in there from what we found.
Okay.
Yep.
So with this, we could either put the food trucks right in here, they could drive in right in here, or we could put them across here. And I think we could get 2 food trucks here, and if we needed to, we could get I'm thinking 2 to 3 at a time. I don't want like 8 food trucks. Like that just wouldn't make sense for our.
1 to 2 most likely.
What?
1 to 2 most
One,
likely.
yeah.
So we're not cannibalizing them either.
Yeah.
We don't have any regulations about spacing for food trucks, do we? So they can be as close to each other as they want to be. Interesting.
And to the commission, I mean, this tonight is just a discussion. We aren't
Yeah.
expecting anyone to make a decision. Kelly, if you would like, afterwards, we could, look at the development application if you want to pull that. And then we could.
So I see food trucks like parked in front of like a brewery, but they don't have any other food service other than that. That's the issue then?
And that's the B1 and the B2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what okay. Thank you.
My biggest concern is, and yes, I know you're a taxpayer, but there are a lot of restaurants in town that would, they're going to go out there and eat off that food truck when they're paying no tax. I know you are. But the food trucks aren't. They're paying their $250
250, yeah.
That's a
fee.
city license?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would like to see a blessing from all other establishments in town before I go ahead and make any decisions. Because
Well, we already are competition, right? We already have a restaurant, and we're just trying to replace that.
But the food truck is not owned by you, correct?
No.
So they're not contributing to the taxes, correct?
Well, they are in their city fee.
At $250.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we're the land that they'd be parking on. I mean, they can come and be on public land. That isn't,
Yeah.
we're paying taxes, so I don't know.
And they can only stay during the day.
As a citizen, I think I would go there like all the time because food trucks are the best. As a councilman, obviously there are issues with the ordinances. One thing, I mean, it's already the middle of April. If we're talking about changing ordinances, which takes time, I mean, we may not even get this done till their season's close to done anyway. So that's just something to keep in mind. And also, you say the food service, for you guys anyway, is kind of break even. My guess is a lot of restaurants are struggling on the food part, but probably do great on the beverage and beer and liquor. So if Brewster's or Chuggers or Rancho Loco says, we think we'd do better shutting down our kitchen and bringing a food truck in, is this going to open the door to something like that? No, granted, they maybe don't have the parking space for it, but it could.
That was the big discussion a couple of years ago when the brewery first came into play. They wanted a food truck out there because they didn't serve food. Well, then we decided they wanted a food truck. And all the restaurants downtown, Mill Street, Dudley's, Brewster said, no.
Yeah.
food truck downtown. We're trying to make a living downtown.
Yeah, this food truck ordinance was a big compromise. It took a long
Yeah,
time.
it was.
Yeah. And I would say that the one thing holding us back from food trucks are allowed in our zoning. The one thing holding back on our food trucks is the 100-foot rule. And that 100-foot rule, I think if pressed, there's an argument to say it's to protect restaurants. There's no one else in our vicinity, no one else in our district, in our zoning that would be affected by this, no other restaurant. So could we say for our zoning district that we change the 100-foot rule? Like, I don't want to open up other restaurants to having that issue. But, Yeah.
Kelly, we could make it specific, but again, it would have to be an ordinance change of some sort, so we would have to go through the process.
Okay.
We don't have the.
you guys do
power.
variances? So you don't have to open up all of the future everybody, that it's a variance for this one very specific, because of our non-conforming use and all of the restrictions that are on the property?
Let's talk to the city attorney on that. There are a lot of rules and regulations on variances too that the state has, and I know you guys have all gone through the training. Let's see how that fits in there. And can I call you or email you tomorrow or the next day?
I think we all get the gist.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all understand.
and-
If you know
we-
anybody that's already doing this with their city,
Yeah.
that
Well,
information would be
there's
helpful.
food truck parks
Yeah.
all over the cities. So
So
that's,
Maybe there's some
yeah.
information available of what their city is doing that might be
Well, and
helpful.
I think that's what informed this
And Kelly,
ordinance.
we all love the Darien. We're just trying to
Yeah.
figure out a legal way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two questions. One is just real personal. When are you guys opening?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out this
I mean,
stuff.
why is she in the closet?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
That was nothing to do with it.
Parking lot, and, I mean, there's a lot
Yeah,
of things.
so there's a lot of things that are in play. Part of it is, we can't in the middle of our season do these changes because there's no closing the Darien during the season. We don't close for 4th of July. It's such a short window. You just have to make the money when you can and hope to break even. That's like what and I run things legally. I have a very clean kitchen. We had to bring everything up to code. So, we're just getting to break even point after 5 years of running this place. And we had an accident, and we had, all of these things that it just eats away at it. So we have to figure out something, or it's going to close. Like, we're going to just, and then it'll be who knows what, because there's so many restrictions on this property. Is it going to be a car dealership? Is it going to be, what is it going to be? Or it's going to just be bulldozed to the ground, and it is what it is. And that's not what we want to see happen, but those are the options at this point, because many, many restaurant owners were interested in this property, and you just can't make it work. So because of the restrictions that are on it. So this is our idea to make it work, and yeah. So, I mean, either way, I do kind of want to do the patio, so can we talk about that?
That's something we can talk about. That's a zoning. You just have to fit the setbacks and the parking.
So that's part of the issue, is that some of this is in setback, but it's already in setback?
Those aren't permanent structures. Those are just movable
Okay.
structures. So yeah, we don't have
So
to.
I don't need approval on this let's forget the true food truck part. This plan, we can move forward with.
We are good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow then on
That'd
how we
be
move
great.
forward with that
Yep.
100-foot issue.
Absolutely.
Okay. What would be the next step? So we talk about it. I kind of thought that's what tonight was, like, we want to have food trucks.
Yep.
And I thought maybe in 2 weeks we'd be talking to the planning commission and moving forward.
Yep.
So what is the only way to move forward is ordinance change?
We would have to double check with Sarah, our city attorney, and see if we could make a variance work with this. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Otherwise, yeah, we would have to probably do an ordinance change.
Okay, and what's the time difference in the two? No?
Not much.
Yeah.
Okay. As a business owner, I feel like a variance protects the businesses better rather than changing it for everybody. Like, so then it does open it up to all of these other things that you guys are worried about, and I totally understand that. So, I don't know. Whatever's gonna work.
They talked about 1 or 2 food trucks, 3. Are you guys, if we could figure something out with city attorney, did you want to limit the number of food trucks to prevent any too many? I just want to get some more information on where you guys stand, so when we talk to her, we don't have to wait another month.
What are you thinking? 2 or 3?
I mean,
2 or 3 is reasonable.
yeah, 2 or 3, we really can't fit that many more on anyways.
You can't overpower your lot, you can't
Yeah.
overpower the people
Or
that are there.
You're gonna
I think it's a great
cannibalize-
innovative idea. I mean, you've got to be creative and try to make things work, and we like to see things work.
Yeah.
So, any way we can, you can get more information for us, as long as
Yeah.
we think. I think it's a great idea.
I mean, from my
Well,
reading.
you guys, I guess what we're doing here tonight is getting your feelings so we can move forward on some sort of ordinance change or variance, number of units. So it's, if you're leaning that way, we'll continue to work. If you think this is absolutely a no-go, let us know.
I don't think it should be a no-go. These guys have been,
I agree.
they're trying to make a living, and they're figuring out ways to make it work, and they're coming up with.
These
good
units are
ideas.
totally
Because-
self-contained, right? I mean, everything is self-contained.
I think it was a
So, okay.
real kind of smart outside of the
I think
box
we-
thinking idea.
Yeah, I mean, from my reading of the ordinance, if we shut down our restaurant, we could make this a food truck park.
You're correct?
So, I mean,
think-
how dumb
Maybe
is
we'll
that?
just
How dumb is that?
ice
Like, if we stop selling ice cream and make the Darien non-existent, a
No, it's kinda-
restroom.
It's kind of funny, you don't think of all
Wheels or
the,
4 wheels on the building you have and call it a truck.
Yeah.
Put some wagon wheels on the
Yeah,
outside.
yeah, there we go.
So, I mean, it seems like, I understand. I was on our town board for 6 years, my husband's on it now, like, we get that it's hard because you have to work within the constraints, but common sense has to come into play too. So, yeah. Yeah, okay,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
No, I'll make a motion to adjourn if you want.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Hema, second by Mr. Lundell to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.